I think perceptions have changed, and I think tech is more open to not having a degree at all, or not having a degree in the area.
I don't want to be doing flyers and posters for church and pubs and things like that. I want to do it like, you know, for the world.
There's a saying that says, reach for the stars, or if you reach for the stars, you hit the moon.
So I'm trying to create as many opportunities as I can. So I've started in the last couple of months to create UX design internships, marketing internships.
For me, there was a point in my life when somebody who I considered a mentor said to me, well, you do design, but do it as a side hobby.
So it's not just, I'm a good communicator, excellent motivation. That CV won't wash. That's the first thing that they'll get rid of.
Just by a show of hands, those people that are part of the tech space or consider yourself in tech, how many of you actually see yourselves as techies? One, okay. A developer, an engineer, are you do you know what I mean? Are you deep techie, like
technologists?
Technologists. Okay.
We've got more hands up now.
The reason I'm asking this question is because all of you, did you notice all of them actually studied technology at university? You studied computer science, you studied product design. Yeah. I studied information systems. Do you think to get into the tech space, you have to have gone to... this is the question actually for everybody. Do you think you have had to have gone to university to get into it? No, okay. And the ones that are technologists now, did you go to uni to study that? No, okay. No, this is interesting because I want to know, there's people that ask me all the time, how do you get into the tech space without being a technologist, right? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, just to make a note on that, like, even though maybe we did product design, it had nothing to do specifically with tech as you would see it now, especially when it comes to like thinking about product or when it comes to like the digital space or the web space. All of that had to be self-thought or self-learned. You know, I always call it the University of YouTube for the best part of it, right? Like you're always trying to figure out stuff that are until only about maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, did universities start to add UX or like, you know, digital designs and stuff like that into their curriculum. So that meant that most people who have done it were just like, oh, this is interesting. I built something when I was young, or like I've gotten into some kind of like, you know, technical thing. I'm more interested in this and I want to find out how this works. And so you start learning by yourself and you start gaining some more interest. It was only until later, I mean, I started as a graphic designer and it was only like I was creating flyers and posters and I was doing it really cheap, £50 here and there. It was only until later I realized that actually what I'm doing could actually make me a lot of money. And when I realized that, my mindset switched all of a sudden and I thought, actually, you know what? I don't want to be doing flyers and posters for church and pubs and things like that. I want to do it like, you know, for the world. I want to change, you know, like massive companies. I want to make impact. And from that point, that mindset, as soon as it shifted, I started looking at myself as, you know, how can I become a top designer? And I started comparing myself to designers that are like, you know, out there in the world that are like from Switzerland, from England and things like that. And not just any black design. And also, just for representation, I started looking at, are there any black designers out there that are the top of the top? And I was able to find a few. And I was like, yeah, that's the guy I'm going to model my career around. And that was what helped me. So yeah, there's an opportunity there.
You look like you want to say something.
No, it's just, there's a lot of things on his career path that I align with, you understand, in terms of like personal development and just saying, okay, I'm going to learn this. Even with like graphic design, I remember selling like flyers for £50 and getting them printed as well and looking for the cheapest printers. I mean, I relate to that so much. That's why I was nodding my head. But there is, like you said, a big part of who is the best in this place or who's the best in this field or who can I emulate or who can I be like, and setting that as a benchmark for yourself to say, okay, that's what I'm going to go and do. And even there's a saying that says, reach for the stars, or if you reach for the stars, you hit the moon. On your journey to the stars or on your journey to try and emulate whoever you're looking at, you will get somewhere, you will end up somewhere. You understand? As long as you're consistent, persistent, you will become something. There's no way it can't happen. And it's a simple formula, but not many people understand or get it.
Jandeep, can we dive a little bit deeper into Toucans? Toucans is really about shaping and helping to shape the careers of individuals. Can you just tell me a little bit more about the business, why you do it, and impact that it's having?
Sure, but just I'd like to quickly answer the previous question. I think perceptions have changed, and I think tech is more open to not having a degree at all or not having a degree in the area than many other areas. It's also, I think, much more flexible to home working and the diversity conversation across the board, disability, neurodiversity, colour, age. So I think a lot of those things are quite positive. So an apprenticeship today makes much more sense because people are being taught at school that it's a viable option. It's on the UCAS website. Previously, apprenticeships were stigmatised, especially from some of our backgrounds. I think there's a few things. One, university was the normal way to go, but tuition fees were 1,100 quid. Now with 9 grand a year, and the more acceptance of apprenticeships. So definitely in tech, go apprenticeships when you can as a viable option. Back to your question about tutukons.
Yep.
You did ask quite a few things there. Would you just mind reiterating?
Tell us a little bit more about tutukons and the kind of way that you've helped to shape people's careers through that business.
Yeah, so I think for me, when I look back at when I was a brand new graduate going straight into the financial crisis, where there weren't too many jobs, and a lot of the tech jobs I saw were kind of a bit boring. I thought like tech support and all these roles. I was already doing web development, so I wanted to do my own thing. So one of the things I've tried doing is, what company would I like to have seen for the guy who I am back then, right? So living in Hounslow, that part of West London, I would go to co-working spaces all the way in King's Cross, because there weren't that many in the local area. I would find that the local Chamber of Commerce had like everyone who's like 50, 60, accountants, lawyers, there were bank managers. There were no young, hip creatives. I had to always go to Old Street and that kind of area for that environment. So if I can create the environment and create the opportunities locally for people like me and just that area, because you've got the airport, you've got industry around GSK and stuff, and it's changing, it's becoming more creative. So I'm specifically looking at working with creating work experience opportunities for underrepresented groups. I've started looking into the T-level scheme, that from September I'll be hopefully working with one of the local colleges to bring some of their 16-year-olds in. So it's similar to apprenticeships. So that's one of the other things. And then a lot of these international students who need to get sponsored to get work, there's a lot of those stuck in the whole, they don't have experience, and then, that cycle. So I'm trying to create as many opportunities as I can. So I've started in the last couple of months to create UX design internships, marketing internships, just to get them in. But I think also it's not just giving people experience and not just helping underrepresented groups, it's also helping myself while the company develops more, so that it's easier for us to then fund those roles as they go forwards.
I love that. And I'm going to ask you both this question, because what you said was something that's actually a significant challenge right now, where in the industry or in the tech space, there are these individuals that are stuck in that space where they don't have experience to actually get into the area they need to get into. So how would you advise somebody like that, maybe Michael, for example, that they're interested in getting into tech, right? You spoke about the University of YouTube, for example, but somebody's interested in getting into tech, they can't get a job in tech because they're stuck in this gap where they don't actually have experience. What would you recommend for that person to do?
It's not easy in terms of like finding opportunity. The first thing you need to have is a desire. You have to have a desire. And when I say desire, you have to have a why, especially when I wanted to transition from one part of tech into another part of tech. It's just having like my why. So whether it's you want to make more money, you want to help your family, you need to have your why, because at times when things are not going according to plan, that why is what's going to keep you going. And that's more of a mindset thing. Now, in terms of things you can like do, I would say look at probably getting like a certification. So that a certification will probably, whether it's something that's really sought after, whether it's just get something that lets you have a conversation with a gatekeeper. And gatekeeper could be a recruiter, it could be a team manager, but just get something to have a conversation. Once you have something to have a conversation, once you have your why, look at your experiences as well, like what you've done in the past, and then put that on your CV, like the things that you've done in the past. Try to tailor your CV so that it includes some of the things that these companies are looking for. Don't just put, I'm a hardworking individual who does so on and so forth, excellent at communication skills. Don't do a CV like that. When I advise people about CVs, try to quantify things. I did this, and so on and so forth, and this is what happened. Like, I was part of this team, we made this change, or I helped make this change, and our website was able to increase by 10% or 20%. Like, quantify, and also say what you did and say how the role you played as well. So it's not just, I'm a good communicator, excellent motivation. That CV won't wash. That's the first thing that they'll get rid of. And try and make your CV stand out as well. So what happens with CVs?
Going deep now.
Yeah. Okay. Because, I've been through it and I know what it's like. And one of the things I did for my CV, based on like the experience that I had, is I created like a logo for my name. So my name is Michael Babatunde. I created like MB. So when they see my CV, that stands out from a lot of CVs. If it's that thing, the way I'm seeing it, it's like that thing might just give me an edge to just catch their attention. Then when I'm writing like my profile, it's like, okay, this is what I did. This is how I can help your organization based on the things that I did. So there's a couple of things to it. But just don't be generic. That's what I'd say.
I love that. So certifications, use the experience that you've gathered through other experiences as well, and show your value in terms of what you can actually offer to that company as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really great advice. So I also made the transition. I was working for an investment bank for 12 years, UBS, and I made the transition into Meta, right? And from banking straight into tech, I had to show them the value that I'd actually got from working in investment banking and actually to be able to move into tech. And I'm not a techie. I don't consider myself tech. I came from a project management background. So all the advice and everything that you mentioned actually deeply resonates with me. What about yourself, Abba? How would you say that somebody who's in that gap and they're trying to get from, they don't have the experience to move into the tech space, how would you advise that person to go into that, to navigate into the tech space?
Yeah, I'd like to actually start from, you said a lot that I think is really good. And I wanted to also maybe piggyback on the kind of mentality part of it. And, the drive that's pushing you on. And like you said, it could be lots of different things. For me, there was a point in my life when somebody who I considered a mentor said to me, well, you did design, but do it as a side hobby and find something else to do. That was a huge turning point for me personally, because I felt like this is something that I was really good at. Why should it be a side hobby? Why can't I make money from it? And sometimes we tend to do that. We tend to go with the things that we're good at and we put it to the side, and we take other things and we try and make money from it. And I think we have to sometimes make those ruthless decisions and go, this is what I want to achieve and I'm going to go for it. It's important to have a mentor that can help you. And I say at all cost, try and find yourself a mentor for exactly what you're looking for. And that includes whether you're on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to find mentors. And I know it can be hard, but I would say push for that, because they will fight for you and for your opportunities. Everything that he said about CV, you will get a lot of that from your mentor in that environment that you're looking at and the things that you're looking for. Then I want to highlight that I think all three of us were actually in slightly different roles, but we're still very connected as well in certain things that we've done. So whether it's web design, whether it's cloud engineering, web design, and UI, UX design, but these are not the only roles in tech. There's so many other roles. There's data analysis, there's project management, there's agile lead or scrum master, they'll call them. So there's lots of other different roles in tech that you might think, how can I translate my current skill or my current role that I'm in into that? So if you're somebody that's good at managing things or ensuring that things go smoothly, then you might want to go into, project management. If you're somebody who's a nurturer, then you might want to go into like a scrum master role. If you're always talking about numbers or something, you work in finance, you might be thinking data analysis and things like that. And I think first important thing is to look for that one thing and then create a plan for you to go around that thing. Now, in my role, I'm going to be a bit more specific now. In my role, there's lots of things that you can do, and it's very cheap. If you want to be a UX designer, you can go and do something like the Google UX course just to get a taster of how things are. It's not expensive. I think it's less than £20 or something to get onto it. But you get a feel, even if you're not a UX designer, I always recommend people doing it. There's also lots of boot camps here and there. But with all of these things, it gets you into a mindset to start thinking how people think professionally around that role. And actually, you can start tailoring your career towards that path. And I think the moment you start doing that, opportunity starts coming itself. Just naturally, you start just pushing yourself to apply for things. And you'll see that it will come through. It can take time sometimes, but patience and perseverance will bring it through.
Patience and perseverance. I love that. Fantastic. Thank you.